Chapter 1. The Mansion. Luigi never imagined that winning a contest he couldn't remember entering would bring him to the edge of a sprawling forest at dusk, staring at a mansion that rose out of the shadows like a monument someone had forgotten to finish building. The sky above it glowed a faint, dying lavender, and the silhouette of the mansion stood crooked against the horizon, its towers leaning slightly, as if burdened by age. Luigi tightened the straps of his overalls, feeling the humid air cling to his skin. A piece of paper rustled in his trembling fingers, the invitation he had received that morning. The neat gold lettering still read the same message. You have won a grand mansion. Come claim your prize. It didn't feel like a prize now. It felt like a prank, or a challenge, or a mistake. He swallowed softly, looking around for Mario, who had agreed earlier to meet him here. The forest around him was silent except for the rustling of branches bending in the evening wind. No footsteps, no reassuring voice calling his name. Only the mansion, waiting with windows that gleamed like eyes reflecting the last traces of daylight. Luigi took a hesitant step forward, boots pressing into the wet grass. The path leading to the mansion wound like a serpent, stones uneven, patches of moss creeping between them, as if nature itself tried to pull the walkway back into the earth. The air grew colder the closer he approached. His breath didn't quite fog, but there was a stillness that reminded him of the times he had wandered too close to abandoned buildings as a child, places where voices should echo, but never did. He paused before the front gate, iron bars twisted into ornate patterns. It creaked open with a sound like a sigh, as though the mansion itself had been expecting him. The front yard was overgrown with weeds reaching up to his knees. The fountain in the center stood cracked, long empty, though Luigi thought he heard faint droplets echoing from within. He leaned over it slightly, but saw only shadows. He backed away, taking a slow breath to steady himself, then climbed the front steps to the massive double doors. They were carved with swirling designs that might once have been elegant, but now looked distorted, stretched by time or by something else. His gloved hand hesitated on the doorknob, and for a moment he wished Mario would appear beside him and knock boldly as he always did. But Mario was nowhere to be seen. Luigi pushed the door open. A gust of cold air spilled out. The interior smelled of dust and something sweetly rotted, a scent that clung to the walls and drifted through the grand foyer. Cobwebs stretched across the ceiling, and the chandelier overhead flickered weakly, glowing with a dim yellow light that barely pushed back the shadows. The wooden floor creaked beneath his feet, each groan echoing down long, empty hallways. Luigi called out Mario's name gently, his voice trembling as it faded into the dark. No answer came back. He stepped deeper into the mansion, trying to keep his breathing steady. Portraits lined the walls, faces of unfamiliar people, their eyes following him in a way that made him tense his shoulders. Some portraits were torn, their canvases clawed open. Others were untouched yet coated with a fine layer of dust, suggesting years, perhaps decades, of silence. The staircase ahead rose like the spine of a great creature, its railing carved with swirls that curled like ribs. Luigi touched the railing lightly and felt an unexpected warmth, as though someone had walked there moments before. A soft whisper drifted through the hall. He froze. The sound didn't form words, but it carried a tone, a weary sigh that brushed past his ear. Luigi spun around. Nothing moved except the chandelier's faint flicker. He forced himself to continue, whispering softly that Mario must be nearby, that his brother would never abandon him here. At the top of the stairs, a long corridor stretched into darkness. He stepped forward, the hall absorbing his footsteps like a heavy curtain of silence. Halfway down the corridor, the lights went out with a pop. Luigi gasped, reaching instinctively for a flashlight he didn't have. The darkness pressed close. Then a small glow appeared ahead, bobbing gently like the flame of a candle. A figure emerged from the shadows, a small old man with spectacles slipping down his nose, a round body wrapped in a lab coat far too large for him, and a bizarre flashlight-like device strapped to his back. He squinted at Luigi through thick lenses. Before Luigi could speak, the man waved a hand urgently. "You should not be here alone," he said, his voice high and strained. "This place is crawling with ghosts. They're restless tonight. Very restless." Luigi blinked in shock, but felt a sense of relief wash over him. A human voice, even an odd one, eased some of the tension pulling at his nerves. He stammered a greeting, asking if he had seen Mario. The scientist, who introduced himself as Professor Elvin Gadd, shook his head gravely. He explained that Mario had indeed entered the mansion earlier but hadn't come back out. Gadd had seen him rush inside, filled with determination, but even the professor didn't dare follow without the proper equipment. Luigi asked what he meant, and Gadd responded by opening a compartment on his device, revealing a strange, vacuum-like machine. He called it the Poltergust 3000, a ghost-catching apparatus he had designed after years of studying the supernatural. To navigate the mansion and find Mario, Luigi would need it. He had no choice but to accept. The professor strapped the device onto Luigi's back, adjusting the straps quickly while muttering instructions. Luigi felt the weight of the poltergust settle across his shoulders, solid and oddly comforting, like armor. No sooner had he taken a step back toward the corridor than a cold blue shimmer appeared near the staircase below. A ghost materialized. From the air, its shape wobbly and translucent, with hollow eyes and a mouth twisted into a lazy grin. It floated upward, turning toward Luigi as if sensing fresh fear. The professor nudged him sharply. "This is your chance to practice," Gadd whispered. "Aim the poltergust. Stun them with the flashlight. Then pull." Luigi stumbled forward, heart hammering, and lifted the device as instructed. The ghost lunged. Luigi flicked the flashlight on in panic, its sudden burst of brightness stunning the apparition. It shivered violently before trying to retreat, but Luigi activated the poltergust in time, feeling a powerful suction tug through the hose. The ghost whirled in circles, pulling Luigi across the floor. He dug his heels in until the spirit was drawn into the machine with a faint pop. Silence returned. The foyer stood still again. Professor Gadd nodded approvingly. "Well done," he said. "You're more capable than you think. Now let's find your brother." Luigi, still trembling, looked around the enormous mansion once more. He had expected an adventure, perhaps a celebration. Instead, he had found a place saturated with echoes, shadows, and strange forces waiting behind every corner. Clutching the poltergust, he followed Gadd deeper into the dark, toward hallways thick with secrets and rooms filled with restless spirits. The mansion seemed to breathe around him, its old walls alive with memories it refused to let go. And somewhere inside this haunted labyrinth, Mario was waiting. Chapter 2. The Ghost Hunt Saga. Luigi stood at the threshold of the parlor, his flashlight casting narrow beams across dust-covered furniture, arranged as though the former occupants had left in a hurry. Cobwebs hung from the ceiling like draped curtains. The air felt thick and unmoving, as though trapped in place by the mansion's weight. Professor Gadd remained behind at the foyer, communicating through a small handheld radio, encouraging Luigi to proceed, but warning him to be cautious. Luigi took a slow breath and stepped inside. The door clicked shut behind him. He flinched, spinning toward the sound. His flashlight wavered, illuminating scattered dust motes drifting in the air. Ahead, a row of portraits lined the walls, each depicting a figure from a bygone era. Some were stern, some amused, and some unsettlingly lifelike. Luigi noticed their eyes seemed to follow him as he moved. He swallowed, reminding himself that Mario needed him. He turned on the Poltergust, its hum giving him a faint sense of companionship in the oppressive silence. A soft breeze swept through the room, though no windows were open. One by one, candles placed around the parlor ignited, their flames flickering with unnatural intensity. Luigi stepped backward instinctively. A moment later, the portraits shimmered, their painted subjects fading until the canvases were empty. The room grew colder. Luigi felt the hairs on the back of his neck stand upright. A low, chattering laugh filled the space, bouncing off the walls like a melody warped by static. A ghost materialized in front of him, a pale figure with a round body and curling mustache, the former master of the parlor. He floated with a smug posture, his expression bored as though Luigi were a mild inconvenience rather than a threat. Luigi lifted his flashlight with a shaking hand. The ghost drifted and yawned theatrically, as if to taunt him. Gad's voice crackled in Luigi's ear, advising him to observe the ghost's behavior. This type, known as a portrait ghost, had habits and routines rooted in their past life. The trick was to catch them off guard. Luigi noticed that the ghost relaxed whenever he sat back in his rocking chair. He waited until the ghost settled in. The moment the ghost closed his eyes, Luigi hit him with the flashlight's full beam. The ghost jerked in surprise, swirling as Luigi activated the Poltergust. The pull dragged them across the parlor, bumping into chairs and overturning tables. It took all of Luigi's strength to maintain the suction. After a tense struggle, the ghost disappeared into the canister with a final whoosh. Luigi wiped his forehead with a gloved hand, breathing hard. The candles extinguished themselves. The portraits regained their images. The room, once hostile and restless, felt briefly calm. Luigi walked back to the hallway, feeling a small surge of accomplishment. One ghost down, many more to go. But for the first time since entering the mansion, he felt a spark of courage. The next rooms were smaller and less ornate. Each held its own peculiar charm. The wardrobe room contained floating clothing that lunged forward as if trying to wrap around him. Luigi discovered the ghosts hiding there liked to disguise themselves as coats, waiting until he passed by before swooping forward. It took several tries before he managed to stun them with the flashlight and vacuum them into the Poltergust. Behind the wardrobe, he found a key, its metallic surface cold against his fingers. It unlocked a hallway deeper into the mansion. The hallways seemed darker the deeper he went. Wall sconces produced dim, flickering light. Portraits hung crooked, as if disturbed by invisible hands. Sometimes Luigi would see faint shapes move out of the corner of his eye. When he turned his head quickly, the hallway would be empty again. He clutched the Poltergust tightly, its weight grounding him as he continued. He entered the nursery next, and the air changed. Soft lullaby music drifted through the small room. Toys lay scattered across the floor, some rocking gently, others tapping rhythmically against the wooden boards. A single crib sat in the corner, its mobile spinning slowly, though no wind touched it. At the center of the mobile hung tiny star-shaped ornaments that glowed faintly. Luigi approached cautiously. A small giggle echoed from the crib, high-pitched and soft. He leaned in and saw a baby ghost sitting upright, eyes gleaming with a mixture of innocence and mischief. The ghost clapped its hands, causing several toys to rise into the air and spin before launching toward Luigi. He ducked, dodging them as they whizzed past. The baby ghost squealed with delight, floating up out of the crib. Gad's voice crackled again, advising Luigi that this portrait ghost was unusually temperamental. The baby's emotions influenced the environment, making objects fly or the crib shake violently. Luigi would need to provoke the ghost into revealing its vulnerable state. Luigi, unsure of how to provoke a baby ghost, hesitated. Then the baby threw a ball at him. Luigi caught it on instinct and hurled it back. The ghost blinked in surprise before erupting into a furious wail. The room warped instantly. The floor stretched away, the walls elongated, and Luigi found himself in a giant, dreamlike arena. The baby ghost grew to massive size, towering over Luigi like a nightmare. It slapped the ground, sending shockwaves through the floor. Luigi dodged them, working up his nerve as the ghost paused after each tantrum. He flashed his light at the right moment, momentarily stunning the giant baby. The poltergust roared to life. He pulled with all his strength as the baby resisted, swirling around him like a tempest. After a long, exhausting struggle, the ghost was pulled into the machine, and the illusion shattered. Luigi found himself back in the nursery, the crib now empty and still. He sank onto the floor, exhausted. That battle had pushed him to his limits, but he couldn't stop. He needed to keep going. He rummaged through the room and found another key, which unlocked the next wing of the mansion. As he stepped out into the hallway, he felt the mansion shift around him. Rooms rearranged themselves subtly. Air vents whistled. The shadows grew deeper, as though King Boo himself sensed Luigi's progress and grew uneasy. The next section of the mansion was more elaborate. The storage rooms buzzed with strange hums. The mirror chamber reflected movements Luigi hadn't made. The ballroom echoed with ghostly music, where dancing spirits twirled in endless circles. Luigi had to disrupt their rhythm to expose them. Every room held a puzzle disguised as a haunting. Every ghost taught him something new about how they clung to their routines. Yet, amid the fear, Luigi also uncovered pieces of Mario's journey. A red hat left near a fireplace, scorch marks from a battle Mario must have fought, the faint imprint of Mario's glove on a dusty table. Luigi pressed his gloved hand over the imprint, feeling determination burn through his fear. Mario was here, somewhere, trapped but alive. Luigi had to keep moving. The mansion's second floor presented another challenge. Here, the portraits grew more expressive, their subjects frozen in postures of arrogance, sadness, or quiet contemplation. At the end of one hallway, Luigi encountered a woman ghost who admired herself in a mirror endlessly. She preened and sighed, oblivious to Luigi's presence until he disturbed the curtains, letting a draft extinguish her candles. Only then did she reveal her true form and attempt to lash out at him, her vanity broken. His flashlight paralyzed her long enough for the poltergust to pull her in, her howls of indignation echoing down the hall. Every ghost captured returned the mansion to a slightly calmer state, yet Luigi could feel the presence of King Boo intensifying. The Boos began appearing more frequently, fluttering around him and vanishing the moment he tried to catch them. Their laughter echoed from behind doors, inside closets, and above chandeliers. They were testing him, mocking him, waiting for him to reach the heart of their domain. In a dim music room, Luigi encountered the pianist Ghost, who played haunting melodies on a spectral piano. She ignored him at first, absorbed in her music. Luigi found her scattered sheet music and placed it gently on the stand. She played a somber tune. When she finished, she bowed politely, allowing Luigi to capture her without resistance. Not all ghosts wished to fight. Some simply wished to finish a moment left incomplete in life. By the time Luigi reached the mansion's gallery, he had gained a rhythm. Fear still tugged at him, but it no longer held him still. He learned to listen for faint cues, to observe behaviors, to understand each spirit as more than an enemy. He was beginning to see the mansion not as a place of terror, but as a collection of stories trapped under layers of dust and regret. Yet King Boo watched all of this from the shadows, waiting for the moment Luigi drew close enough for the final confrontation. The mansion's energy grew heavier. The air felt charged. Doors rattled. Lights flickered. Luigi sensed that the path ahead would not be as simple as solving puzzles or calming restless spirits. He tightened his gloves, adjusted the poltergust on his back, and stepped forward into the deeper wings of the mansion. Mario was close, and the ghosts were growing restless. Chapter 3. The Deeper Halls. The third wing of the mansion carried an atmosphere unlike the areas Luigi had explored before. Where the foyer and early rooms merely felt abandoned, these deeper halls carried the weight of something old, something deliberate, something aware of every footstep he took. The wallpaper here had darkened to a deep, almost bruised purple, peeling away in long strips like shedding skin. The chandeliers hung lower, their glass beads clinking faintly, as though disturbed by a presence just out of sight. It felt as if the mansion was slowly adjusting itself around him, tightening its grip as Luigi drew closer to its core. He moved cautiously down the central hallway, his flashlight beam stretched ahead, shaking slightly in his gloved hand. The silence around him tightened with each step, broken only by the occasional creak of the floorboards and the faint hum of the poltergust strapped to his back. The doors here were carved with intricate patterns that twisted into shapes he almost recognized but didn't fully understand. Sometimes, he thought he saw faces carved in them, their expressions warped into grimaces or weary sighs. Halfway down the hall, Luigi encountered a pair of armored statues. Their stone eyes seemed to glare at him with cold indifference. He approached them slowly, testing the floor for traps. But nothing happened. It wasn't until he turned his back that one statue's arm twitched, the tip of its stone spear scraping lightly against the floor. Luigi spun around. The statues stood still again. He inched forward, feeling the tension in the air. The moment he stepped beyond them, both statues moved, their helmets clanking as the spirits inside awoke. They swung their stone weapons with surprising speed. Luigi yelped and dodged, barely avoiding a strike that could have knocked him unconscious. He flicked his flashlight toward one statue, the bright beam momentarily stunning the spirit animating it. The armor shook violently, rattling as if resisting the light. Luigi switched on the poltergust, pulling the spirit free from the stone shell. Once captured, the statue collapsed into harmless rubble. The second statue lunged again, swinging its heavy weapon with enough force to send cracks running through the wooden floor. Luigi dodged left, then right, shining the flashlight when its guard was down. The suction from the poltergust dragged the spirit out, and both statues fell silent. The hallway grew still again, but the lingering chill suggested more dangers ahead. Luigi checked his keyring and approached the locked door at the end of the hall. Inside, he discovered the fortune teller's room. It was dimly lit by a single orb resting on a round table. Books and scrolls lay scattered across shelves. Portraits of unknown figures stared down from the walls, their expressions expectant. Sitting in the center of the room was a spectral figure draped in shimmering fabric. Her form flickered softly, as though held together by threads of moonlight. This was the fortune teller ghost, a spirit rumored to possess knowledge of the mansion's mysteries. Unlike the other ghosts, she did not attack. She regarded Luigi gently, her voice floating like a whisper. She demanded no battle, only answers. She asked Luigi to bring her lost items, each belonging to Mario. Luigi reached into his pocket and offered Mario's hat, which he had found earlier. The ghost closed her eyes as she touched it, recounting the moment Mario had fought bravely before being overpowered and dragged deeper into the mansion. Luigi felt a pang in his chest. He asked what else she knew, but she said her vision was incomplete. Luigi would need to find more of Mario's belongings scattered throughout the mansion. With a new determination, Luigi ventured further. Each room beyond this point felt more personal, more intimate, as if the mansion stored not just ghosts, but memories. He entered a study filled with stacks of dusty books that smelled faintly of old ink and wood smoke. As he examined the shelves, a book popped out, hitting the floor. A ghostly scholar appeared, muttering quietly about being interrupted. The ghost circled Luigi with an annoyed air, casting pages like projectiles. Luigi waited for the ghost to pause before flashing the light and capturing him. Afterward, he searched the study and found Mario's glove tucked between two volumes, stained with dust. The next room was the conservatory. Dead plants hung limply from planters, their leaves brittle and pale. A single harp stood in the corner, strings vibrating even without a breeze. As Luigi approached, the air shifted. Transparent musical notes drifted into view, swirling around him. A ghostly musician appeared, bowing to him silently before playing a haunting melody. The room's energy brightened for a moment, the plants trembling as if awakening. When the final note rang out, the ghost nodded gently, allowing Luigi to capture her without a struggle. Behind the harp, he found Mario's shoe, scuffed and worn, a clear sign that Mario had fought or fled here. Luigi returned to the fortune teller with the glove and shoe. She absorbed the memories tied to each item, recounting Mario's journey deeper into the mansion, confirming he had confronted King Boo before being sealed inside a painting. The ghost whispered that Mario had resisted bravely despite the overwhelming presence of the Boos. Her final act was to reveal a key hidden in her spectral pocket, which she presented to Luigi. After giving her last reading, her form dissolved, drifting away peacefully. Armed with the new key, Luigi ventured into the guest rooms. These chambers were unusually well kept, almost as if recently visited. Beds lay neatly made, dressers stood polished, and candles flickered quietly. But the illusion of peace faded as a ghostly couple emerged, an aristocratic pair who danced elegantly as if trapped in a memory of a ballroom long gone. They moved gracefully, ignoring Luigi until he interrupted their rhythm. They glared at him with chilling disdain before attempting to push him aside with bursts of ethereal force. Luigi dodged their attacks, watching their movements carefully. When their guard lowered, he stunned them mid-dance and pulled them into the Poltergust, the two spiraling together before disappearing. Beyond the guest rooms was the armory, filled with ancient weaponry and displays of armor. The moment Luigi entered, helmets rattled and swords clanged against metal racks. The ghost occupying this room was a fierce warrior whose spirit had grown restless, still trying to defend territory long forgotten. He swung spectral blades with impressive strength, limiting Luigi's room to maneuver. Luigi ducked behind armor stands, shining his flashlight whenever the ghost overextended. The battle took time, but he eventually captured the warrior, leaving the weapons to settle back into place. Further into the mansion lay the hidden attic passages. The air grew colder. Dust thickened. The ceiling sloped with exposed beams that cast long shadows across narrow paths. Luigi climbed the attic ladder slowly, feeling the temperature drop with each rung. He reached a large, open space filled with trunks, old furniture, and forgotten belongings. The wind moaned through cracks in the walls. Somewhere among the clutter, a ghost giggled. A soft sound, playful yet unnerving. Luigi followed the sound until he found a small chest. Opening it revealed Mario's letter. The paper trembled in Luigi's hand as he read the hurried message Mario had written before being captured. The letter urged Luigi to turn back, warning him of King Boo's power. Luigi folded it gently, placing it inside his pocket. He had come too far to turn back. A sudden burst of laughter erupted behind him. A group of Boos appeared in a flurry, scattering in all directions the moment Luigi tried to capture them. Their taunts echoed through the attic, bouncing off the walls. Luigi chased them across the beams, using tactics Gad had taught him, surprising them, cornering them, waiting for their moment of panic. One by one he captured them, though their whispers promised that King Boo was waiting, growing stronger. As Luigi descended from the attic, he felt the mansion shake, a deep rumble traveling through the floors. The house was reacting to his progress, resisting his intrusion. Lights sputtered, furniture slid across the floor, doors slammed behind him. The closer he got to the deeper wings, the more hostile the mansion became, as though King Boo was trying to stall him, isolate him, or break his resolve. Luigi held the poltergust cautiously, bracing himself. Mario was near. He could feel it. But the mansion was not finished testing him, and the ghosts ahead would not be simple puzzles or restless spirits. The heart of the mansion awaited him, and King Boo was preparing. Chapter 4. The Hidden Wing. Luigi moved toward the newly unlocked corridor with a growing sense of heaviness, as though each step down the creaking wooden floor pushed him further into a place the mansion never intended anyone to reach. The air thickened. Shadows seemed to gather at the edges of his vision, tugging gently at the corners like a curtain being drawn. He clutched the poltergust more tightly, the hum of the machine grounding him in a place where everything else felt unstable. The hidden wing was sealed behind a tall door carved with swirling patterns that resembled a storm frozen mid-spiral. The moment Luigi turned the key, the design seemed to shiver, as if awakening. The door swung open, revealing a staircase plunging downward into darkness. A faint draft drifted up from below, carrying with it the scent of cold stone and something bittersweet. Luigi tightened his gloves, took a deep breath, and stepped into the stairwell, the sound of his boots echoing off the narrow walls. At the bottom of the stairs, he entered a dim, narrow hallway lined with tall mirrors. Each mirror reflected him unevenly. In some, he appeared taller. In others, shorter. In many, slightly distorted as though stretched by an unseen force. He approached one mirror cautiously and noticed that his reflection blinked a moment after he did. He jumped back, his heart pounding. As he stepped away, his reflection delayed once more, its eyes lingering on him even as he moved on. Luigi kept his gaze forward from then on, unwilling to risk being trapped in a corridor where even reflections seemed unreliable. At the end of the hallway was a door with a brass handle that felt strangely warm. When Luigi entered the next room, he found himself in a dimly lit space furnished with antique trunks, dusty dressers, and stacks of old paintings leaning against the walls. This was the mansion's storage area, a place where forgotten or unwanted things accumulated over the years. Luigi navigated carefully between the crates. Occasionally, he heard whispers coming from within locked trunks, but he resisted the urge to investigate. Whatever was inside was unlikely to be anything but trouble. A faint glow caught his attention. On top of a dresser rested another of Mario's lost items, his star-shaped keychain, slightly dented but recognizable. Luigi pocketed it gently. The discovery confirmed he was getting closer. Mario had passed through here, and probably not willingly. The quiet groan of wood behind him caused him to spin around. One of the trunks shuddered, a lid lifting slightly. Luigi approached carefully. The trunk burst open, releasing a cloud of dust and a ghost who had been dormant inside for a long time. It floated upward, its shape thin and wiry, its expression one of confusion. As it recognized Luigi, it became hostile, flinging objects around the room. Luigi ducked, shining his flashlight whenever the ghost paused to gather strength. With a steady pull from the poltergust, he captured it, leaving the room momentarily calm. Luigi pressed forward into a room decorated with faded floral wallpaper and old photographs of families who had once lived here. The photographs were unsettling. Many were blurred, as though the faces had moved just as the picture was taken. Others were perfectly sharp, yet showed figures staring straight at Luigi as if they recognized him. A rocking chair in the corner moved slowly despite the room being still. He approached it, unsure if a ghost occupied it. The chair stopped. A soft cry filled the air. A shy spirit materialized near the window. An elderly woman ghost clutching a piece of fabric she had been sewing even in her afterlife. She didn't attack immediately, instead watching Luigi cautiously. He noticed her grow weaker whenever a breeze lifted the curtains. Tugging the curtains open fully brought a draft into the room, causing her to lose her concentration. Luigi used that moment to stun her and capture her, her sewing needle clattering quietly onto the floor. Beyond this room, Luigi found a narrow passageway that led deeper into the hidden wing. The hallway twisted unexpectedly, almost like it was built to confuse. The walls bowed inward in places, making it feel as though the mansion itself was closing in. He reached a door that led into the safari room, one of the mansion's most macabre chambers. The walls were lined with mounted heads of ghostly animals, their eyes glowing faintly. The wooden floor was covered with a faded rug that felt oddly warm beneath Luigi's feet. He approached one of the mounted heads and noticed its eyes move slightly. The beasts growled low, the sound vibrating through the floor. Before he could retreat, the ghosts emerged. 2 hunter spirits brandishing spectral spears. They hadn't attacked Luigi earlier in the mansion, but now they emerged with fierce aggression, cornering him. Luigi dodged as the hunters charged. They tossed spears that phased through the air with surprising force. Luigi noticed their weakness. Whenever they stopped to gloat over a near hit, their guard dropped momentarily. He used those moments to flash the light. The poltergust roared, pulling one spirit across the room as the other tried to interfere. Luigi dodged a final attack, stunned the second hunter, and captured him quickly. With both hunter ghosts gone, the safari room fell still. Luigi took a moment to catch his breath. Leaving the room, he found a hidden door behind a large shelf, its frame covered in scratches. Pushing the shelf aside revealed an entrance to the mansion's hidden art gallery. Luigi stepped inside, and the temperature dropped immediately. The gallery walls were covered with paintings, dozens of them, each holding a portrait ghost he had already captured. Their images remained frozen, but still emanated a strange presence. The gallery felt like a resting place for defeated spirits, their stories sealed behind glass. Luigi walked slowly, glancing at each painting. He saw the old man from the parlor, the dancing couple, the shy elderly seamstress. Their eyes followed him despite their defeat, their lingering expressions a reminder of how deeply they were tied to the mansion. At the center of the gallery was a large, ornate frame, empty but glowing faintly. Luigi felt his breath catch. This was where Mario's painting would be. This was where King Boo intended to display his prize. The empty frame pulsed gently like a heartbeat. Luigi shivered, stepping back instinctively. Gad's voice crackled through the radio, telling Luigi he needed to find the basement keys next. Somewhere below the mansion's main floors lay the generator room and the final obstacle before confronting King Boo. Luigi exited the gallery through a door that led to the mansion's deeper hallways, ones he hadn't touched yet. The deeper he went, the more hostile the environment grew. Candles extinguished themselves moments after being lit. Doors rattled violently as he approached. The floorboard creaks began to resemble footsteps following closely behind him. Luigi turned several times, flashlight raised, but nothing appeared. The mansion was playing tricks, wearing down his resolve. He clenched his jaw and pressed forward. He found the breaker room hidden at the far end of a narrow corridor. As he entered, the lights flickered and died entirely. The room fell into absolute darkness. Luigi gasped, gripping the poltergust. Without warning, dozens of small boos emerged, swirling around him in chaotic flight. Their laughter wrapped around him like a cold wind. They didn't attack directly, but tormented him, brushing past his ears and whispering in high-pitched voices. Luigi swatted at the air, trying to stun each boo. After several tense minutes, he managed to corner the last one and capture it. The breaker switch reset, and dim lights returned. Among the debris in the breaker room, Luigi found a key wrapped in cloth. Faded writing indicated it belonged to the basement. His stomach tightened. He had known all along the basement was coming. Every haunted mansion hid its darkest secrets underground. Luigi took a step back toward the stairs, gripping the key tightly. The hidden wing had tested his courage in new ways. It had revealed the depth of the mansion's malice, the lengths King Boo was willing to go to keep Mario imprisoned. Luigi took a deep breath, wiped dust from his gloves, and made his way back toward the central staircase. The basement awaited him, and whatever lay beneath the mansion was ready. Chapter 5. The Basement Descent. Luigi stood at the top of the staircase leading into the mansion's basement, staring down into a darkness so complete that even his flashlight struggled to penetrate it. The air rising from below carried a damp chill and a faint metallic scent, like old pipes left untouched for decades. Cobwebs dangled thickly from the ceiling, swaying gently as though stirred by breath rather than breeze. Luigi tightened his grip on the poltergust's handle. Everything he had faced so far, the restless portrait ghosts, the wandering boos, the shifting rooms, had been leading him here. He stepped onto the first stair. It groaned loudly, the sound echoing downward into places he couldn't yet see. Each step felt heavier than the last. Halfway down, the ceiling lowered until he almost had to crouch. The walls narrowed, the stone chilled. When he finally reached the bottom, he found himself in a cramped hallway with walls covered in grime. Water dripped steadily from somewhere above, each drop echoing like a ticking clock. Luigi moved forward cautiously. His flashlight beam glided over old pipes running along the ceiling and doors made of corroded metal. The basement smelled of mildew and something else, something stale and sour. He walked toward the generator room door, the key heavy in his hand. Just before he reached it, a faint scraping noise came from the end of the hallway. Luigi froze. The scraping sound continued, slow, rhythmic, something dragging across stone. He lifted the flashlight and saw nothing. He could hear only the distant dripping and the low hum of unseen machinery. Determined not to lose his nerve, Luigi inserted the key into the generator room's lock. The door groaned open, revealing a chamber lit by a single flickering bulb. Inside, rusted pipes wrapped around the walls, converging on a central generator that shook and rattled with each rotation. Tools lay scattered across the floor, along with puddles of murky water. As Luigi stepped inside, the door slammed behind him. His breath quickened as he spun around. Before he could reopen the door, the generator sputtered violently. The lights went out. Total darkness swallowed the room. Luigi's heart pounded in his chest. He fumbled for his flashlight. When he finally clicked it on, a swarm of ghosts materialized in front of him, small, aggressive, and fast. They darted around the room, their shrill laughter bouncing off the metal walls. Luigi dodged wildly, shining the light in all directions. One ghost swooped low, tugging at his cap. Another tried to pull the poltergust off his back. Luigi swung the flashlight in a wide arc, catching multiple ghosts in its beam. He activated the poltergust, pulling them in one by one. The generator rattled louder, almost as if reacting to the chaos. Luigi managed to corner the last ghost and capture it. Silence fell once more. He hurried to the generator controls, flipping switches and turning valves the way Professor Gadd had instructed. After a moment of sputtering resistance, the generator roared back to life, flooding the basement with a faint, steady light. The mansion's power returned. Luigi felt the floor tremble as electricity surged through ancient wiring. Somewhere above, lights snapped on, doors unlocked, and the mansion shifted again. As he exited the generator room, Luigi noticed another door now slightly ajar, one that had been locked before. He approached it cautiously. Inside was a cold storage chamber, lined with freezers still humming faintly despite their age. Frost clung to the walls. His breath fogged as he stepped inside. He immediately felt a chill deeper than the cold. Something in this room was watching him. The ghost revealed itself slowly, emerging from the frost like a figure rising from mist. It had a blocky shape, with jagged edges, and exhaled icy air that formed clouds around its face. This ghost was unusually powerful, one of the mansion's elemental spirits. It lunged toward Luigi, covering the floor with sheets of ice. Luigi slipped, grabbing onto a crate. He waited for the ghost to inhale before shining the flashlight. The moment its icy defenses dissolved, Luigi activated the poltergust. The suction battle was fierce. The freezing wind stung his face as the ghost resisted, pulling strong enough to drag Luigi across the slick floor. He braced himself and pulled with everything he had until the ghost finally spiraled into the vacuum. The cold faded instantly. The frost melted. Luigi breathed out in relief. In the back of the storage room, hidden under a cloth, Luigi found another one of Mario's belongings. His glove, stained and crumpled. The sight made Luigi's breath catch. Mario had fought hard here. Luigi closed his fingers around the glove, feeling renewed determination. He left the storage chamber and followed the basement corridor deeper. He reached a heavy metal door marked by scratches. Behind it lay the basement's main archive, a room filled with shelves of old ledgers, broken lanterns, and crates stuffed with forgotten belongings. Dust swirled in the air as Luigi entered. The walls were covered in tally marks and faint handprints, some large, some small. They faded off into corners where shadows thickened unnaturally. Luigi stepped closer to the shelves, scanning them for clues. Suddenly, the room's temperature dropped. Papers fluttered, crates rattled. Something moved behind him. A slow, scraping motion. Luigi turned slowly. A tall, thin ghost stood behind him, its face long and expressionless. It carried a lantern with a flame that flickered black. Luigi tried to shine his flashlight, but the lantern ghost lowered its flame, swallowing the light around it. The room dimmed until only a faint glow remained. Luigi's instincts kicked in. He circled the ghost, searching for its weakness. He noticed whenever the lantern ghost raised its lantern, the shadows warped around it. Luigi waited for the moment when its arm lifted fully. He shined the flashlight into the exposed lantern flame, causing it to flare brightly. The ghost recoiled. Luigi activated the poltergust, pulling hard as the ghost twisted and elongated like a ribbon caught in a gale. With a final pull, the ghost disappeared. A soft clink echoed from behind one of the shelves. Luigi approached slowly and discovered a key resting on a dusty crate. Its shape was unmistakable. This key led to the boiler room, the deepest and most dangerous part of the basement. Luigi steadied his breath. This was where Mario must have been dragged last. This was where King Boo's influence would be strongest. He stepped out of the archive, gripping the key tightly. The hallway seemed darker now, even with the generator running. The walls felt closer. The poltergust hummed ominously as though aware of what lay ahead. When Luigi reached the boiler room door, the temperature rose sharply, contrasting the cold storage chamber earlier. He inserted the key, and the metal door creaked open. Waves of heat rolled out, accompanied by a deep mechanical rumble. Inside was a vast chamber filled with pipes, valves, and an enormous furnace glowing with intense light. Steam hissed from punctured pipes. Shadows danced across the walls as flames flickered. A ghost shaped like living embers rose from the furnace, another of the elemental spirits. Fire crackled across its form. Luigi shielded his face from the heat. The furnace ghost launched fireballs that ricocheted off metal walls. Luigi dodged, feeling the heat scorch past him. He remembered the ice ghost and realized he needed to wait for the furnace ghost to inhale flame before stunning it. Timing was everything. The ghost inhaled. Luigi flashed the light. The ghost sputtered. Luigi activated the poltergust. The battle dragged him across the boiling floor. Sweat stung his eyes. He held firm, grounding his feet against a pipe. With a final heave, the ghost vanished into the vacuum. The furnace dimmed. The rumbling quieted. In the boiler room's corner, Luigi found another object, a crumpled note from Mario with a rough sketch of a crown beside the name King Boo. Mario had known who he was facing. Luigi pocketed the note and stepped back toward the stairs. The basement was complete. Only one area remained now. The mansion's final sector. The rooftop, where King Boo waited, where Mario was held captive. Luigi tightened the poltergust straps and ascended toward the mansion's upper floors, where the final confrontation awaited. Chapter 6. The King Boo Saga. Luigi climbed the final staircase slowly, each step echoing through the mansion with a dull, heavy thud. The air grew colder as he rose, despite being closer to the rooftop. It was not natural cold. It was the presence of something ancient, something aware of his approach. The mansion no longer hid King Boo's influence. It radiated from the walls like an unseen pulse. Doors trembled as Luigi passed. Portraits shivered in their frames. Even the shadows seemed to pull away from him as if making room for what was about to happen. He reached the top floor landing, where the hallway stretched forward in eerie silence. This corridor looked different from the others. There were no decorative candles, no scattered cobwebs, no peeling wallpaper. The walls were smooth, cold and blank, as though stripped clean of memories. The floorboards beneath his boots did not creak. They felt unnaturally firm. Luigi held his flashlight tightly, illuminating the emptiness ahead. The only sound was his breathing, slow, shallow, controlled. The hallway ended at a large door carved with a familiar symbol, a crown resting atop a ghost's head. King Boo's emblem. Luigi lowered his flashlight and took a moment to gather himself. His heartbeat pounded in his ears. He felt the weight of the poltergust pulling at his shoulders, reminding him that every ghost he had captured had brought him to this moment. He exhaled once, then pushed the door open. Inside was the mansion's rooftop balcony, a massive open space under a moonlit sky. The broken roof created a jagged frame around the clearing where mist swirled in gentle, curling shapes. The wind was strangely still. The moon hung heavy above him, shining directly onto the center of the rooftop, where a large, ornate painting stood propped on an easel. Luigi recognized the face instantly. Mario, trapped inside the painting, eyes wide with fear, his arms raised as though calling out silently. Luigi staggered forward, reaching for his brother. The painting remained still, its surface shimmering softly with ghostly energy. Luigi called Mario's name, but the sound dissolved in the open air. Before he could touch the frame, a familiar chilling laugh rang out from the shadows behind him, high-pitched, mocking, and echoing as though coming from multiple mouths at once. King Boo materialized slowly from the mist. His rounded form floated forward, his massive tongue lolling out in gleeful arrogance. His eyes glowed a hot, menacing red. The crown atop his head shimmered with an unnatural light, gleaming brightly even under the pale moon. He hovered above Luigi, observing him with predatory amusement. Luigi backed up, flashlight trembling slightly in his hand. King Boo laughed again, circling the air above him. His voice boomed, filling the entire rooftop with its echo. He praised Luigi's persistence, mocking him for coming so far despite being frightened at every turn. He spoke about how enjoyable it had been to watch Luigi struggle, stumble, and flinch through the mansion. And most of all, he boasted about capturing Mario, the hero who had defeated countless foes but finally met his match. Luigi responded not with bravado, but with quiet determination. He switched on the poltergust. The machine hummed, its familiar vibration steadying his nerves. King Boo paused mid-sentence, his red eyes narrowing. He smirked and drifted toward the Mario painting. With a swirl of mist, he passed through the canvas. The painting's frame shook violently. A vortex formed around it, swirling purple and black, pulling Luigi toward it. The rooftop environment distorted, dissolving into a swirling abyss. Luigi dug his heels into the floor, gripping the poltergust like a lifeline. The vortex grew stronger. The painting tilted, its edges glowing. Then, with a sudden flash, it engulfed Luigi entirely. When his vision returned, Luigi found himself standing in a strange arena. The world around him was a twisted void, with swirling purple clouds stretching infinitely in all directions. Floating platforms drifted aimlessly, rising and falling like pieces of a dream. The ground beneath Luigi's feet felt stable, but he knew this place was not part of the mansion. It was a world created by King Boo's power, a domain controlled entirely by the Ghost King. King Boo appeared above Luigi once more, his eyes burning brighter than before. He spoke with a tone that was less mocking now and more commanding. "Here," he said. Luigi was alone. No professor, no flashlight tricks, no friendly ghosts showing him mercy. Only him and the overwhelming power King Boo commanded. Then Bowser's roar shook the air. Luigi spun around, horrified. A massive figure leapt down from a floating platform. Bowser loomed before him, flames licking between his jaws, his claws scraping the ground. Luigi's heart lurched. Bowser was too strong, too dangerous. But something was wrong. The way Bowser moved seemed unnatural, too jerky, too exaggerated. Luigi quickly realized that this was not Bowser at all. It was a spectral puppet crafted by King Boo, a ghostly imitation driven by malevolent energy. The battle began instantly. The fake Bowser charged, breathing streams of neon blue flame. Luigi darted behind floating pillars, barely avoiding the heat. He waited for an opening. When Bowser inhaled deeply to unleash another fire blast, Luigi shone the flashlight into his gaping maw. The Bowser puppet staggered, shaking its head violently. King Boo slipped out of the puppet's shell, revealing his true form momentarily. Luigi activated the Poltergust, pulling with everything he had. King Boo resisted fiercely, swirling around Luigi with immense strength before slipping back into the Bowser body. Luigi repeated the process. Dodge, stun, pull. Each cycle drained King Boo's energy. The world around them shook more violently as the battle continued. Bowser's puppet body began cracking, its shell fracturing under the force of the ongoing struggle. King Boo grew more desperate, his taunts turning into frustrated growls. The final moment came when Luigi stunned Bowser again, revealing King Boo trembling within. Luigi pulled with all his might. The suction dragged King Boo across the arena. Sparks of ghostly energy exploded around them. The puppet Bowser collapsed. King Boo was hurled into the Poltergust, swirling violently before being pulled inside with a thunderous snap. Silence fell. The void rippled once, then shattered like glass. Luigi found himself back on the mansion rooftop. The Mario painting lay on the ground, its glow fading. Luigi approached it, heart racing. Slowly the painting pulsed once, then twice. With a final surge of light, Mario burst free, stumbling forward, dazed but unharmed. Luigi rushed to him, relief flooding through his chest. Mario enveloped him in a tight embrace, thanking him over and over. Luigi, trembling with exhaustion, leaned into his brother's arms. The mansion groaned behind them. Without King Boo's power, its illusions began to fail. Walls shimmered, doors warped. Cracks spread across the structure. Professor Gadd rushed onto the rooftop, urging them to leave. Together, they descended the crumbling mansion, stepping outside just as the building collapsed inward, dissolving into dust and fading into the night. It left behind nothing but the stone foundation and the cold breeze blowing through the forest. Gadd loaded the captured ghosts and King Boo into his machine for purification. Mario clapped Luigi on the back, praising his bravery. Luigi, exhausted but standing tall, allowed himself a small smile. He had come into the mansion terrified. He left it a hero. And that night, as Luigi finally drifted into peaceful sleep, there were no ghosts waiting in the dark, only the quiet satisfaction of having faced his fears and saved the brother he loved.